Squad podcast episode 11. I'm really happy the band is back together, and although I feel like Seth and I kind of knocked it out of the park last week, but it is nice to see Mason's smiling face again. Welcome back, buddy.
I like to think you guys just did an acoustic set.
Yeah, that's true. It's like unplugged.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back, you guys. I'm glad that we can make this one happen. I know that some of us were feeling a little under the weather. It affected some of us more than others, I'll say.
It's true. That's true. It's probably like a issue of the person's constitution or overall toughness, but that's okay. Yeah, we're stocked up on Kleenex and hot tea, and it seems like everyone's rocking and rolling right now, which is good. We do want to hear about your trip to TPIE, Mason, but first, one of our shorts from last week's episode caught some strays, or maybe some direct hits. I don't know, but in the comments. And this was, Seth, this was related to your idea to buy into your local garden center.
Oh,
you had this strategy, this cool idea. And then I followed it up with maybe using your landscape or treating landscapes like utilities. And just read a couple of the comments we got. First comment. This has to be one of the stupidest ideas I have ever heard. Stunningly dumb. I will never get the time back that I spent watching this short.
I leave for a week and you guys burn down the podcast.
Right? The next comment, which came the same day, and this short got a lot of views. Got like 1,000 views. I always enjoy it when people believe they should be in control of your life. I mean, I feel like that's reading into it a little bit, but the next one came, says socialized garden centers. I don't think that was like a positive. I think that was more of a wow. And then I got public streets and roads and highways. Who owns the water in Mississippi? Publicly financed military versus private army. So that person didn't really make a statement. They were more just asking questions about what runs more efficiently. And I will say that the person with the comment about that potentially the dumbest thing they'd ever heard, which makes me feel like maybe they don't hang out with people a lot because I hear a lot more dumb stuff than that. But they also gave it a thumbs up. So
there we go. Wait. Did they give the short a thumbs up or the comment a thumbs up?
Maybe, you know what? I think that somebody else gave their comment a thumbs up. I think that's what I'm looking at here.
Oh.
So, we do appreciate all comments. Seth, do you have a rebuttal to this?
Yeah, I do. I've always said that I'm an idea person. I've never said I'm a good idea person.
Fair.
So and behind every good idea, behind every great idea is like 1,000 bad ideas.
That's
right.
True.
So that was like, if people don't love it, just keep listening. Eventually, they'll get to one that they do like.
I just like that I feel like I say a lot of incendiary things. Seth always used to say I was the hot take guy. And he's like, why you always got to be the hot take guy? My wife says that too. And I love that the episode that I am out of the booth for is the one that you guys get slammed for hot take ideas.
You know what? And that could be a new user, a new viewer, right? Like they hadn't seen any of the other ones. So it was like their first experience. Now with you on board, we'll see what they say.
I had one or two.
I think shorts actually get a completely different viewership than full episodes.
Yeah.
So that short was probably recommended to this person like through their algorithm. And when they watched it, they were like, whoa.
They probably just go around and like poo-poo on things of that nature. And then more gets served up to them just because they're like, oh, you've interacted with this. You must love it.
Yeah. Well, and I can vouch for Seth. He is not like a socialist. Like, I don't think and we're not a political podcast, but I think Seth's political leanings are not towards socialism.
I like how we're just like, was this the Red Scare here? That we're like, he's not a socialist. I can vouch for him.
For sure. He's not Karl Marx.
Do I have to like come in like off the gun and just be like capitalism, Atlas Shrugged, like just say a bunch of things? Like,
you know what?
Maybe
I think the idea was like you're like buying into it on a regular basis. Maybe it's more of a timeshare rather than a utility.
A lot timeshares always people love them. I mean, they are really such a viable and valuable part of the American economy. I can imagine that take will not get any hate.
Maybe we should tax it too while we're at it. A taxable utility timeshare. Just bing bang boom.
You know what? I was just looking for an opportunity for garden centers to be more a part of like everyday life for all the citizens, you know, like
well, and I
everyone.
was looking at it like a
So,
CSA, right? Like community
oh
supported
yeah,
agriculture, where you like buy a box of vegetables from your local farm and you go somewhere and pick it up. And that local farm, instead of becoming a big corporate farm, stays a local family farm and sells subscription boxes. I don't know if that concept is still viable, but I feel like it is. So
I think there's places that do it. From what I know of CSAs, unless you're like cream of the crop, it can be hard to be financially viable with just that. Just
true.
because like you have off seasons, you have
Right.
things where people aren't interested in what they get in a box. But yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
we've talked about that with hanging baskets or like a
yeah,
subset of things. It's like you pay a monthly basket fee and
sure.
you get 4 baskets a year, whatever.
Yeah.
sounds like
Well,
socialism. Don't
like
do
I
that.
said, we appreciate all comments and keep them coming because it gives
Well,
us.
my question on the comments were like, because you can see usernames. Hopefully it's not like Seth's dad 424 or whatever. Like, were
No.
these people you
Well,
knew? Okay. All right.
Well, one was he shall remain nameless. He was in
I
Germany
can look
last
it up.
week as the editor in chief of Grower Talks, but he shall remain nameless. But yeah, no, we love you, Chris. Thanks for your comments. He was
Yeah,
not the one who said it was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. I know for a fact Chris has heard a lot more dumb things. He's worked with me for like 20 years.
that's fair.
Anyways, Mason, welcome back. How was TPIE? Give us a quick and dirty recap.
Yeah, it was great down in Fort Lauderdale. I made it back before that big storm swept through and canceled a bunch of flights. So usually traveling this time of the year, half of the headache is the travel.
Right.
So that was fine. Got down there, got set up. Great show for us and me. It's an awesome show from a standpoint of like I feel like the best conversations that I have sometimes are with like my international customers. All go to TPIE. Saw some of those guys that I hadn't seen in a couple of years. Yeah, the weather was actually nice while we were down there. Last year it was like 50 degrees. It was when northern Florida got snow. And this week we missed it by a week because like right now I think Miami, the lizards are falling out of the trees. I'm headed back to Florida tomorrow, going to Orlando for some America in Bloom strategic meetings. But the show was good. I think that people are excited. And that's where, there's definitely been a decline from the peak, I think, of like houseplant interest. I think there was a couple years there where like people were like, I don't care what else we got to have houseplants. And so maybe some of the shtick was gone of like, oh, hey, like, unless people in the get rich quick scheme type thing. And the people that were there were real players, real conversations. But yeah, great stuff as usual. They put on a heck of a show, and now the hotel is opened up next door, and they did an awesome kind of outdoor party the first night. Yeah, it was great and nice to see some friends from that area of the neck of the woods too. And also weird shout out, I saw Chris at the show, gave him a tub of fertilizer to use. Hopefully he puts it to good use.
He will.
Also ran into my old roommate, tenant, friend, Ryan down there. And so, yeah, it was a good show.
He's doing big things. He's doing big things in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And that's where I told Carrie and John, I was like, maybe you get in trouble for saying this to your bosses. But I said, this show is the fun show. I was like, you got nice weather, cool plants. Like no one's not looking forward to going to TPIE. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Was there any displays or was there any specific house plants that were like getting everyone's attention? A cool new thing or nothing
I
like
asked some
specific?
people that, and I think that there's been so many introductions in the last few years with houseplants becoming very much in again that when I ask people like, what's the one thing, like nobody really gave me like, oh, it's this or that. But a lot of new variegated varieties, I think things that were more expensive are becoming more mainstream. Alive Trends had a beautiful display. Costa had a nice display. I don't remember the name, but there's one display that always has a ton of pitcher plants. Like
that was DeRoos. They had a black one.
Yes, it was. It was DeRoos.
Yep.
And like that always catches my eye because you don't see those up here. And because they're not the like Alabama swamp pitcher plants. Like these ones are the hanging kind. And a lot of people don't know that those are two different. What is it? The hanging ones are Nepenthes, and then the upright ones are Saracena, I think. I'm butchering those names, but
well, I know
I think you're on the right track.
So, but yeah, that was great. And then, but like what I don't know, maybe I'm a weird guy. All right, I'm a weird guy. We skipped the maybe. Um, but like there's a booth there, and I didn't talk to anybody from the booth, but I always like these booths was I think it was like Pine Island Fruit Tree Company. And they just had crazy fruits from like Central and South America that
Oh,
you've never heard of. I've never
yeah.
heard of that I was Googling. I was like, oh, what do you gotta do to grow this? And so that's always cool to me. I like edible things from countries that have yet to make it here. So
You're like, what do I
yeah.
have to do to grow this? They're like, be in zone 9.
Yeah, but someday I'll have a massive conservatory just
Yeah.
growing weird fruits. But yeah,
Conservatories. That could
great
be a
show.
topic for a future episode. I would like to have a conservatory. But
Ooh,
well,
that would
Maybe
be
cool.
cool.
we'll all get our own conservatories with the podcast money.
Yes. Yes. We need to get fewer of those nasty comments like Seth gets us with
Or
his
maybe more.
socialism.
Yeah, doesn't that
Maybe
get
more.
views? Should we have more dumb ideas? And then people were like, "Oh wow, that was crazy dumb," and then everyone else is like, "I want to hear the crazy dumb idea."
I think they'll just come out as we go. I don't think we
Yeah.
need to make it a goal.
Yeah.
But speaking of dumb ideas, earlier last week, I was really busy and I was looking to come up with some topics for the episode. And I was kind of overwhelmed with work and life and stuff. So I threw it to these guys. I said, let's come up with some topics for episode 11. And one of the topics that was brought to the table was horticultural smell. And there's a lot of different ways to approach that, but I think so when I think about smells, it's kind of funny because smells trigger memory, right? Like that's what smells do.
That's why I
Like
brought it up.
you can always remember like the smell of the gum in a pack of Topps baseball cards when you're like my age. You can always remember, like a lot of people remember the smell of like lighter fluid from grandpa's in his pipe. And there's all sorts of smells that trigger responses. But horticulture definitely has its share of fragrances, good and bad. You know, it was funny, I was thinking about the corpse plant, right? Isn't that like they bloom like for a week every multiple years and it just smells like absolute death and it attracts flies or something, whatever pollinates the
Rotten
plant. But I was thinking, yeah, horticultural smells. What do you guys think? I've got a couple ideas, but I'm interested. Mason, this was your idea.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know. One of the most comforting smells to me on the planet, and it is a horticultural smell, as I would categorize it, because you're not necessarily growing this thing for the smell. Is I really, really like there's nothing that says spring working in a greenhouse or summer out working in the yard as if you just like reach down and like that sounds weird, smell your arm and you just get that like you've been working in tomato plants all day
Yep.
where it's like I don't know how to describe like if you put tomato plant smell into a candle, I don't know, I'd love that. But it's kind of like a sweet
Well, when you say it, I can smell it, right?
oh
Like
yeah.
that's how like clear that smell is.
Love
in
it.
my
I remember in the garden center, we'd always have like we'd have patio tomato plants and
Mhm.
they were just in like essentially like a 400, 500, 400 or 600. We sold them for like $10 a piece. But we'd always have to stake them. And so you go
Yeah.
through and after you stake them, these giant plants, you just smell like tomatoes all day long. Love that. Love it.
So what you're really saying is it's like the tomato residue from your hands. It's not just like your bare arm. Like I'm
Right.
envisioning like I'm
Right.
just smelling Mason's
Yes.
arm or my arm. I don't know.
No,
Maybe
no,
like
it's
your
the residue.
So I just Googled it, and the distinctive aroma of tomato plants is a result of the presence of trichomes, which are tiny structures that produce and store aromatic oils, blah, blah, blah. When the plant is healthy, the smell is a natural defense mechanism against pests. But when the plant is stressed or under attack, the smell can become unpleasant. I feel like
Interesting.
when you're in there brushing up against it and pruning it or, doing what you do to tomato plants, that there's probably stress there, but maybe it's happening too quick. But I have not noticed the fragrance change.
I didn't know it was trichomes on the tomato plant, which definitely have their
Makes sense.
interests in other plants.
Yes, for sure. Seth, you got any horticultural or smells? They don't have to be plant, just related to the industry.
Well, like I was gonna go with the plant originally, but kind of like based on this conversation, I was like if you like an old garden center, like a non-new one where they have like wood benches and where that it's been watered for like a long time, where like the inside of the greenhouse just has like a really earthy sort of fragrance, right? Kind of feels like kind of a little bit like old water, a little bit like old wood,
Is
a
that
little bit like
mold?
old dirt.
Some algae.
I was gonna say, is that
Algae.
just mold?
No, it's not. It's not just mold. It may be a little bit of mold, but just like a really earthy tone. I had visited an orchid greenhouse that had like wood, maybe it's like wood benches. I think wood benches have offer a different sort of fragrance than
Yeah.
like just metal benches, right? And I don't know, it just like brings me back to like working at a garden center when I was in high school, because it was like that. And they're out of business now, so I can talk about how it smelled like old, earthy, moldy benches.
Well,
But
to that point, one of my favorites from working in the garden center was because we potted, like we were growing the front or growing the back stall at the front, right? So it wasn't just like plants in the door and then selling them. So like we would have to fill hanging basket pots or fill trays. And before we had a better dirt machine, is what I'll call it, a flat filler, whatever you want to call it. We called it the dirt machine. Great band name, by the way. Dirt machine is you'd have to like mix this giant tub of media mix and you'd water it first because you wouldn't want to deal with it all dusty. And I would say that smell is also phenomenal. Is that like watering it in kind of earthy, similar? I like that.
Especially because like you like been like working with your hands all day in the dirt, and so like you kind of like it like lives on you for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say once they started adding more things to the soil as a kid, I had like sensitive skin. And whenever I would start to work with the dirt, that I would just break out in hives from whatever kind of like biofungicide or insecticide they had.
It's nice. It's whatever your dad was probably adding to that soil. It's like, fill it up with that and nothing will live.
Couldn't have been like the sulfuric acid that was injected into the water, whatever.
That old bottle of DDT he kept in the garage. But speaking of, I got two smells, both related to my time working at a garden center. And one is like espoma, like just the espoma natural fertilizer amendment. Our whole garden center smelled like it because we had bags of it, 50 pounds all the way down to probably 4 pounds. People would always walk in the store like, oh my gosh, what's that smell? And we'd be like, what? Like, is it Steve? Like, I don't know what that smell is because we just worked in it for so long, but that smell, and I suspect that, and when I walk into garden centers, sometimes if they're selling those products like Fertilome or whatever, like immediately I recognize that smell. It makes, Milorganite. But that smell, I don't know, kind of makes me happy. I love the smell of mulch, like fresh mulch when you take the tray, and we'd scoop buckets out of the whole, out of the big pile, like 70 yards at a time. And
would you describe that as a sour smell? It's kind of sour.
I don't know. Remember across the street from Ball when they used to have the mulch piles, and then the General Mills factory would be making like Cocoa Krispies or something. It was like chocolate and mulch. That was a wretched smell. But my other smell, garden center related. So we used to play this game at the garden center with new employees and make them smell things at the garden center. So we sold like fox urine and coyote urine as repellents. So those are always good. But the worst was malthion. It was like an insecticide, like a wicked, like...
You're not supposed to smell that.
Right. I mean, it came in a glass bottle. I mean, when it comes in a glass bottle, I mean, that that it's probably pretty strong. They do sell like a far more diluted version now for home garden use, and it does come in plastic, but the stuff we had was probably like 50% malthion or something, came in a glass bottle. And we would like, the new employee would be like, smell this. And it was like a wretched, horrible smell. And then one time a customer knocked one off the shelf and it hit the ground and broke. And
the floor dissolved.
It was horrible. And I'm sure, we probably shouldn't have been wiping it up with like paper towels and stuff. But, we've all done it.
Well, you reminded me of the one smell that I could never smell again and be happy with, because you were talking about the pest aversion products, which those are like waste products. Yeah. There was one that I like got free a sample of a while back, and it was made from like the blood that they had drained off of like
blood meal.
No, it was liquid and it was rotten, and like it was just black goo that would come out of the spray nozzle, and you were supposed to spray it, and it just smelled like death. And like, I mean, it was death. It was basically like they were taking like from butcher plants, the rotten blood, just bottling it up and just...
You imagine trying to take that through security on the way back from a trade show? Like I've tried to take unmarked bags of fertilizer through, and they're always like, yeah, no, we're going to call all the TSA agents over and show everyone how to test this but any other smells? I don't know. My favorite smell in the world is rice cooking. I know that has nothing to do with horticulture, but
That
like
smells?
steaming rice is just like the best smell in the world.
You know
All
what?
right, here, let's go ahead, Seth.
I was gonna say a good smell and a small story. A good smell is Oncidium sherry baby. It's like a type of orchid, Oncidium. It's like a little
Yeah.
star-shaped orchid, and the fragrance is like a sweet chocolate fragrance. So when I worked at a garden center, it had a ton of flowers, and then you just got this really great fragrance. And so I was visiting, I think Gertens up in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
like a decade ago when we were doing Grow It, and they had an Oncidium on sale, and it had like a little. I thought it was Sherry Baby, like that was like what I thought it was, and so then but it was on sale, like clearance for like $5. So I brought it home, I babied it, I grew it for like 8 years, it never flowered, and finally I got it to flower. It wasn't Sherry Baby,
Just some other
like another. It
Oncidium.
was like another Oncidium, totally different color, and it didn't have the fragrance either. So I was like, what the hell? Like I've been waiting 10 years to get this fragrance. And I was like really excited. And then it wasn't the case.
Let down by a smell.
I believe
know.
Sherry Baby is a song, and I believe
Sherry baby.
yeah,
Sherry
right. It was Frankie
baby.
Valli with that falsetto. I'm like sure of it.
I got the pipes.
Yeah, you do.
I will say we can't go through smells. I got like this is a 1-second shout out. The best smelling flower at a garden center is stock Mathiola.
Yeah,
hands down.
It's a weird smell. Like
Yeah.
it's so recognizable. But I agree, it's a great smell. I don't know if it's my favorite, but
I like that one. And the one I hate that people love is Alyssum.
I was about to say Alyssum is gross.
Hate it. People love it.
I don't know about that. I actually don't even like Alyssum as a plant, but we can
used to sell
talk about that. Maybe we'll do like our least favorite plants that other people love in a future episode. But all right, let's move on to like the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is a topic that I think will be interesting to discuss. I don't remember which one of you threw this out, probably Mason, but I think we could we'll all have a lot to contribute. And it's movies we'd make about horticulture or about the industry or about plants. But again, I think we need some ground rules because I feel like this could go in a million different directions. But so are we talking like movies, like existing movie genres that we could slot plants into, or how explain this to me so that I don't take this one off the reservation?
I mean, I take it as far as you want, but I was thinking like movies get made about all kinds of things. I feel like now we're making with all the streaming companies, and they're all like, we got to make our own movies. There's all kinds of movies that get made, and I end up watching movies, and I'm like, that movie didn't really need to get made. But I guess there's an audience out there for everything. And so I was thinking like, what if there was like some sort of story? And it could be, I was thinking more like factual. Like in my head, I was thinking that like, what's the Oppenheimer of horticulture? Like what's Christopher Nolan going to go and make a movie about in our industry that people are going to be like, oh yeah, I got to go see it. And it's going to be the next summer blockbuster. You know, I don't know if I necessarily have the best idea for that, but it could be something like that. It could be what's a drama. So often I see Lifetime movies that are centered around poinsettia farms and they get it all wrong, but that's a good trope. So, you know, I was just thinking like, what are the stories out there that we know that could be good stories that for audiences to take in?
So, well, I mean, my brain immediately goes to like the development of Walleriana impatiens with Claude Hope down in Costa Rica and Waller Genetics Company and finding, like, I don't know the ins and outs of it, so I'm sure I would get it totally wrong if I tried to be factual, but like finding a native type plant, hybridizing it and turning it into something that could be, you know, they can create a ton of seed from, harvest seed, learn the seed harvesting technologies, and then take this sort of native plant to massive levels in the industry and make it like the #1 shade plant. But my brain was going to things like my favorite movies are heist movies. Like I was thinking like fictional, like somebody's like stealing germplasm and like,
I like
you know, all of a sudden there's a whole new range of petunias or something because they've stolen some germplasm, or like a food plant, or I also like National Treasure. Like what are the, you know, what is the crazy like, you know, backstories on these plants that could be completely dug into, and, you know, whoa, that person was, you know, doing all these other things on the side, like they were illegal or or something. I don't know. I mean, my
It's
favorite movies
interesting.
have Jason Statham or Nicolas Cage in them. So
Yeah,
There's a
well, you could have one with Jason Statham, and he has a briefcase with the new genetics of like impatience, right? That one of the big breeders is like going to introduce at cast, right?
yeah,
And he's got to take it from like the East Coast to California, for cast to present. Like maybe it's a box, right? It's like a plant. They only produced one, and so he's got to take it across the country, but that for some reason the airlines like won't let it like fly, so he has to
right.
drive it.
He's got to
So it
drive it, but
takes
it's got to get stolen in some like Wyoming town, and then he's
yeah.
got to kill like 75 people to get it back. And it's probably
Well,
a
well, that's
firefly.
like
It's probably
that's
a glow in the dark plant at this point.
that's the
it could
action
be.
movie genre. I just wrote a movie in my head first. Apparently, there's a book out there now. Alex had it in her book club.
Are
It's
we
on my
doing
book
movies?
read list. About it's called, I think it's like Wild Dark Shore, about a family that's like at a World Seed Bank type deal, and they manage the World Seed Bank, and a murder or something occurs. Like, and then if I had to guess, there's enough interest in that book that a movie gets made at some point.
Yeah.
But maybe we do see something like that, Bill.
Well, I was actually thinking about the seed bank. That's funny you say that because I was swimming this morning and I was thinking about this topic and I thought, maybe someone steals all the seeds out of the seed bank or a good portion of them. And then, of course, the apocalypse happens. But I'm pretty sure there's not a family in charge of the seed bank. I'm pretty
No,
sure that's
no,
like
that's
funded by Mr.
well,
Bill
yeah, and
Gates.
I'll read the book. I got it. It's next. I'm next in line via the
Okay.
library loan copies. So hopefully today, tomorrow, it comes through.
But stealing genetics, I think, it's like stealing
I
technology. That you can make a million movies about that.
Well, yeah, and that's all action. But
Right.
I just wrote an idea in my head
All right,
that I
let's hear
think
it.
could
What we got?
get some play.
What-
All right, kind of like it's like a dramedy. Okay, down on their luck, garden center owners inherited a garden center, were gifted. Let's say
Mm.
this: two guys were left a garden center. It's it used to be a prominent garden center. Now it's kind of falling apart, and they need a big win, or they're not going to make it. So what they decide to do is they are going to go to California spring trials and see what is the plant genetic that is going to save their garden center. And their whole goal is to lock up an exclusive because they're two charismatic dudes. And so it follows their
Have we
whole
seen this
trip.
movie before?
It follows their whole trip up and down the coast, and like there's all sorts of mishaps like that. Like they have deals worked out, they get shut down, and I
It
think it's
sounds
like
familiar.
it's an ensemble cast. So you have your two main people, but then at every stop, like there's a new face. Like it's like a cameo.
Well,
Like it's like some guy, and he's like, "Oh, we can't." Like, and there could be like different factions. Like they go into one stop, and there's like a hippie lady that they're like, "Whoa, we're not trying to do that." And they find out that all the plants that she's showing are like medicinal, and you're like, "Whoa, we're not trying to do that kind of thing." And then they have to
Probably a
escape.
dude with a big beard trying to pitch him a lavender.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking of that. But then they go on to the next one, and then they figure out that like there's ties to some evil empire, and they're like, well, we don't want any part of that. But then they like go to the last stop, and maybe it's like a smaller stop that's trying to like get something out, and then they're like, well, we have all of this and you can be the only ones to provide it. And so then they go back and they figure out a way to take this one thing and make it their entire garden center and save the garden center. And I think it's like, it's ups and downs. It's not anything action packed, but there's a lot of comedy built in, a lot of, mishaps. I think people would watch that. It's kind of like the Tommy Boy, but more serious, more sad in between, like real things are happening of the horticulture world.
I like it. And then at the sequel, someone takes that exclusive and just pitches it to a big box store, and
Yeah.
and that garden center's gone.
Or yeah. It could be, or maybe they have to do a road trip. Like it's like, okay, hey, they did it into California, and they found it, and now it's like, okay, they have to expand their garden center. And so then the next one, the sequel becomes like, how do they unite independent garden centers across the United States to band together against, the big corporate that's going to steal everything that they've done.
Like
So
it.
then they meet a lot of, again, ensemble cast. They meet a
Yeah.
lot of crazy characters at these garden centers, but along the way, like nothing looks like it's going to work out. And at the end, basically everybody shows up at their door and they're like, yeah, we got this.
Hmm.
So now when I
But
feel like it's like
I'd watch it.
Joe Dirt
mm,
esque.
I
you know,
like it.
if you did you
You
could do
put
a
a lot of thought
spin-off.
into that.
And
You
that
could do
just
a
happened
time.
on the spot.
You probably have
You
a
could
script.
you you could do a TV series spinoff and make it like an HGTV sort of show where they have to try to rehab the garden center that was in its glory days back in like the
Mm,
70s. And like every episode, they're doing like redoing a section. And then with that becomes drama. Like, oh, they try to replace the roof, but it all
Yeah.
fell.
Yeah.
Or,
we've talked about that, Seth, but we don't have anybody that's as jacked as what is Robert Irvine on
oh,
Restaurant
well,
Impossible.
that would be Garden Center Impossible. That would be a whole
Mm.
different show, which we've talked about. That would be good too. But you're going
What
to
if they
be
found
jacked.
gold or like the treasure of Oak Island under that garden center when they broke ground to like put in the new parking lot, or like a
Yeah,
giant fish or an alligator or something in their pond?
they have a they
Or
have a TV.
moonshine, they could make moonshine
There you go.
or
They
duck calls.
on
There's a lot.
what?
There's a lot of potential. Duck
Duh.
calls. Yeah, I mean, Duck Dynasty was big for a minute.
Well, they on HGTV they have this whole like this couple's redoing a giant castle that they inherited,
Mm.
which is I've watched a few shows of that. I like that. So then you could like with the garden center thing, right? Like a big grand conservatory sort of thing. It'd be like people's introduction into the world of horticulture that they never knew like sort of existed. Like this grand sort of view of like what it could be, right? Because it could be an event center. It could be a place you could get plants, and so it could be. Sorry, just
I've
like
got it.
it's the spin off of your idea.
Have you guys ever seen Vanderpump Rules?
No.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so, okay, Vanderpump Rules, 6-second version. It follows, like, all these people that work at this highfalutin restaurant in Los Angeles owned by Lisa Vanderpump and her
Mm.
husband, and she's a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and so then they're all, like, hooking up, and they're all doing this, and there's so much drama between their group of friends, there's, like, 8 of them. What if we did that, but it was, like, Longwood Rules, and it was the Longwood summer intern program, and it was just
Whoa.
like I'm sure crazy stuff happens that we don't know about, but I know that they have like one of the largest intern programs.
Yeah.
So it just follows around the interns for a summer and like, yeah, big party at Johnny's house last night, but we got to go clean out the fountain today. It's a great idea.
I like it.
Hmm.
I like it. You could do like a behind the scenes at like a botanic garden or something too, and just show like, or like an amusement park. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that some of the Six Flags and when the SeaWorld here in Cleveland used to have like a whole horticulture department. Somewhere like a Biltmore or like a Vegas resort. What if a golf course? You could remake Caddyshack, but with the grounds crew instead of the caddies.
Ooh, I like that.
But I think you could do a behind the scenes of any one of those things. Like I have watched so many like behind the scenes of a cruise ship where I'm just literally watching dudes with pallet jacks moving around crates of like watermelons. And I'm like, holy crap, Jen, come watch this. And she's like, why? Like we've been on a cruise ship. I don't need to know the inside of how those watermelons got from the loading dock to the guy who carved them to the person who balled the little watermelons up and then it got to the buffet. She's like, I just want to eat the watermelon on the buffet. I'm like, I want to watch 35 minutes on how that watermelon got from the loading dock to that buffet. So you could totally do that at a botanic garden or a resort.
I was
also-
thinking I was thinking about like a comedy. I was having trouble for some of the why, but it could play off of Mason's idea, right? Like where you have like a couple of people that like inherit something and they have to like try to get it back in profit, make it profitable. But my spin on it, which could be a cult classic, is a play off of trade show life, right? Like everything that happens around a trade show, right? Like the travel to a trade show, a lot of humor and me, right? Like all three of us has had some humor around the travel aspect, and then setting up a display and all the ways a display can go wrong, right? Like
There
it
you go.
never quite turns out exactly how you want it to, or it looks beautiful and people don't know all the crap that went on behind it. And then like all the really very quite interesting people that you can meet along the way, right? And so like maybe like they inherit, right, this like business that's not profitable, a horticulture business, And so then they have to go to all these horticulture trade shows and set up a display.
I
And
think
they
you
got to
do it
like,
at one. You
what?
do it as like you do it at like Cultivate, right? And
Yeah.
it's like a 3-day story. And like on the night before the last day, they have like a big pitch or a big dinner, and they're like locking up funding or something. And like so everything is like going wrong. And then like guy loses like they lose their like they have maybe they have a
Mm,
plant. They're like this is it.
mm.
Then they lose it. Then they find it. They're like what is outside the bar? Like what the heck's going on here? Oh yeah.
Well, okay.
And then of course it winds down and they're like, man, last night was a complete like mess up. And they're at the Tuesday of the trade show. And then like you're, calming down. They're just kind of like,
Mm.
whatever, like packing up. And then like guy comes by and he's like, we'll see you on Wednesday when we start this up. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I would put it like the cultivate would be like the pinnacle part of the movie, right? Like that's an hour in. Maybe like that first hour, it's like the warm up, right? Like they do a couple of trade shows leading into the cultivate. Like it's like the preliminary rounds where they like just like they get to the show and they forgot their booth. Like they forgot to bring stuff, right?
Maybe
Like it's like all the big mistakes, and then
maybe they
what they're
do an event
learning.
at
What?
but they do an event at a botanical garden that they think 1,000
A
people are going
bunch
to
of
show
people are
up.
going.
And 2 people show up for a different event and they take them around the botanical garden and explain how the app works anyway
Yeah, right. Like it'd
with
be
some
like
boxed
learning
wine
and
and Cheez-Its.
I
I
feel
think
like the
there's
stories that you guys have from 2 guys traveling around the country trying to launch an app to people in the horticultural industry are probably a movie in and of itself. I'd watch it. It would be like a cross between like Airport Lost and Found, and
mm,
I mean, there's a show for everything.
Yeah. One of my parents' favorites that I caught while I was there, and it has a lot of horticulture aspects in it, is To Catch a Smuggler.
Oh yeah,
So like the one they were catching like drugs coming across the border in a shipment of jalapenos.
yep.
And then this other guy had brought in a bunch of weird plants from some other country and he didn't speak English and they were like, and it turns out that they were like fine. They were like fruit trees, but
Yep.
you didn't have the right thing. And
I could watch you. I see. I watch contraband seized at the border. That's like my
yeah,
guilty pleasure. And I could watch USDA inspections for hours. Like if there was just a channel that was like USDA inspections at the border and all the crazy stuff that they see and how they're like looking for invasive species. And you're right. Like
I
here's a
saw one of
it's
those.
like an entire shipping container full of jalapenos, and in every single crate is like however many kilograms of crystal meth. And you're
Well,
like,
and that was the
"What?"
thing is they were like, these jalapenos are all rotten. Why are
Nope.
they shipping them?
Yeah.
And so
mm.
the wildest one, I always think it's wild when it's animals that they're trying to smuggle. Like this one guy had like a walking staff and they were like, it's hollow. And then they found like 3 parakeets inside. And I was like, what?
I was gonna say
Look
beetles,
at
but
this.
no, parakeets.
Yeah.
Uh,
Could I do a quick side story on the
of
with the
course.
USDA sort of thing? Is I think it was during my grow it time. I was at the I think Omaha or Kansas City airport, and it was delayed, right? Like I was there for like several hours, and I remember at some point being at a part of the airport that was less populated, so I could take a call, and it was a really good call. I think I was selling someone on something, right?
I'm
And so
sure.
then I'm like really into the call, and sometimes I get a little bit like forgetful. So I'm like, I like aced the call, and I hang up. I'm like, yes, I just nailed it. And then I'm like, where's my backpack? Where's my stuff? Like I was just like on the call and doing my thing, and then like ended up at the other side of the airport. So I was like, ah, crap. So then I'm like going back to like find my stuff. Well, then as I get close to where my stuff is, I see all these like lights, like these like cop lights and officers. So I like roll in because it's like you see something, you say something. Well, someone said something about my leaving my baggage there, right? So there's like 14 cops and 2 dogs like by my backpack. I'm like, so I'm like, hey, that's my stuff, and then they're
Yeah.
like frisking me and then asking me like what's going on. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just like, I wasn't paying attention. I'm like starting to like get like, oh my God, like this is not good,
Yeah.
and so then like after a half hour of answering like all their questions and taking all my clothes off and stuff, was like, I made it. I
Did
got the
they
stuff.
tell you to do that, or did you just voluntarily do that?
Well, I was like, "Just search me. It's fine. I didn't take
No, it's
anything.
fine. Really.
It's like
It's
Let me
fine.
look in the
Talladega
bag.
Nights. It's like, how many
There might be a
fine.
times?
plant. There might be a plant in there. It's fine." They're like, "Can we open it up? Is there any like knives?" Or I'm like, "No, there's nothing." And it was. I'm glad it was like at the like lesser busy part of the airport, because it would have been really embarrassing had anyone saw it or found out
Mm,
about it. So
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
If it had been at O'Hare at 8 o'clock in the morning, there would have been like 10 people from Ball walking past going, I know that guy. And I'm going to
Frisk
not
him.
tell
Frisk him.
anybody I know that guy.
yeah. So that was like one of my airport mishaps.
Well,
One of
my
many.
big one was the fertilizer story I just referenced earlier. Like someone had given me like an unmarked bag of biostimulant. And I was like,
Nice.
yeah, I'll take that home and give it a shot. It was at a garden center event or something. And there were two bags actually. It was like a bigger bag and a smaller bag. And there were two different things that supposedly had like an interaction with it, but they were unmarked for sure. Just zipper bags. They were not clear. So, I just threw them in my backpack. I think I'd gotten them the morning I was leaving and just tossed them on the belt going through TSA. Next thing I know, they're like, sir, and of course, like, oh, yeah? Like, please step to the side. And they've got these bags out on the side belt, like the belt where they put like the questionable stuff. And they were like, what is this? I'm like, it's like fertilizer. Probably not the best answer because chemical fertilizer in
You
large
can't bring that
quantities
up,
is
man.
not good. So then they called over all of the people on duty at the time and they were teaching everyone how to run like all these tests on it. And they had all these like test strips and little bottles that they used to, shake it up and give you. And then they had a scanner, like a laser scanner, and it ended up being nothing. I mean, it was like fulvic acid or something.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, that was at least 30 minutes. And I thought it was fascinating, of course. So I'm like watching, like, oh, that's cool and stuff. But there was that. And then
Did
I also tried to bring a big glass trophy through TSA once, but it was shaped like it was like a pyramid, but it had like a very sharp point on one end, and it was
Mm.
probably 14 inches long and very heavy. And yeah, that didn't go well. They didn't take it. They kind of
Well,
let me pass, but they lectured me. In fact, I think I have it
so
right here. Look at this.
there you go. What'd you win?
Oh man, that's dangerous.
So
That's a
this is
weapon.
the Western president when I was president in 2016, 10-year anniversary of me trying to take this through security at the KC Airport.
Looks like an obelisk to me.
It's definitely
Yeah.
an obelisk.
So I know we had more on the agenda, and I know we're coming up on time, but I feel like with these crazy stories, I do have to give you guys this one because this is recent and it's an airport story. So my last trip to TPIE that I was on, everything was going swimmingly, and I get to the airport. I told you a lot of flight mishaps. So my flight gets delayed 2 hours after I get through securities. I got there early, and I could have not gotten there for a long time. So I go, okay, well, I'm gonna grab some lunch. So I go into there's like a taco tequila place and sit down. I'm a single guy, not single. I'm married, obviously,
But
I'm
alone at the airport.
alone. And so I'm like, I'll just sit at the bar and I'll grab some tacos. And so I sit at this seat, and that's when some wild events started happening. There was a gentleman like at the bar that
What
then tried
time? What time was this? Just give us the hour of the
noon,
day.
noon,
Noon. Okay.
Mm.
and he like told the lady next to him. He was like, I'm gonna leave my bags here. I'm gonna make a run for it. And he put his coaster on top of his drink, handed the bartender his card, and then he goes, you can run it. There's nothing on it. And so then he left. And then a few minutes later, the cops come and they're like, are these your bags to the lady? And she was like, no. And he was like, they were like, and the one guy like next to me was like, that's the guy that ran through the plate glass window out there. And like
What?
run backwards through security, and they like tackled him and like
So
and
when
then
he
like
said I'm gonna try to make a run for it, like he was legit. He wasn't like making a run to the men's room because he'd eaten too
no
many tacos.
no he was from making a run from something. Guy across the way, because it's like a circular bar, goes, oh, I gave that guy a pill earlier. This is just Tylenol, but he was like struggling for something. Where everybody's like, what? Then the guy that gives the guy the pill sits down and proceeds to pull out a bag of diamonds and sells a raw diamond to the family to my left.
Just
For like
like out of the
$7.
blue, or were they there
Yeah.
to? They were not
He-
there. Were they there to buy the diamond, or was he just
No,
like
they were coming back
Don
from
the
a cruise.
jeweler?
They were coming back from a cruise. He was like, "Yeah, I've been in town for a jewelry trade show. Check out these diamonds." And then one lady was like to her husband, and they were pretty sloshed. She was like, "You didn't give me any jewelry on the cruise." And he's like, "I'll buy that diamond right here," and gave him $700 cash for a diamond. And there's a lady
You don't
next to
have to
them
declare
that
that.
had.
It's under 10 grand or whatever.
So then they go on their way, and there's a lady that's because I'm there for 2 hours because I got nothing to do. I'm eating tacos, and kind of just taking all this in. And
Yeah.
the lady next to them who was there at the same time, which weirdly, I learned that she had flown in from Chicago and then had just camped out at the airport bar. Weird.
Yeah, you
She
usually
get
don't stop somewhere when you fly in.
right. She gets a call, and like sadly, her husband had like a heart attack or a stroke and was found with another woman. Like that was all
Bro.
part of the call. And she was like, "He was with another woman," and goes berserk. And
As you would.
and meanwhile, the guy next to me, he's on the same flight as me. He's like, "Dude, you can't make this up." And I was like, "No." And it turns out like the family that I was talking to, or the family that bought the diamond, they're from Allentown. And I was like,
You're like,
"Oh." I was like,
I work for a
and they're
company
like,
in Allentown.
they were like, "Oh yeah, that's a company like off of Tillman Road," and I like this. I was like, "Yes, yes." And so yeah, just a wild,
To
wild
buying the
occurrence.
raw diamond at an airport bar, just like out of the blue, is crazy.
Wild, wild. So
I
that's
mean,
where I was just
probably a
like,
great deal. Like, I mean, it was probably like a great deal for them, but
in the matter of an hour and a half, like 3 of the craziest things happened. Like this, and I can't emphasize enough. It doesn't sound like it was a big deal. I guess I feel bad for the lady's husband. Whatever. I guess I feel bad. I feel bad he had a heart attack. Like I don't know,
kind of feel
but
bad
also
for
he was
both of
found
them
with.
in that story.
And then he was found with another woman who she knew, by the way. She was like, "That's my friend." She
Not
like I
anymore.
can't stress enough how that situation was actually the biggest one of all of them because she made an entire scene in the entire restaurant and was like
Even though some
throwing
dude
things.
ran through a plate glass window, leaving his backpack.
And the lady that her husband had an accident, like she made a way bigger scene.
I'm mostly fascinated by this diamond thing, though. That's pretty awful.
That is the weirdest
Did the
occurrence,
guy
but
look like he was like a jeweler? I mean, did he look
no,
like a mobster, or did he
no,
just a
look like you or
dude?
me, just an average dude. It'd be
Did he
like if I
open
was
them
like,
up in like a folded paper, like you see in like the movies, like shake it,
I didn't
like
see too much of it, like where they came out of, but
mm,
from what I recall, it was kind of like a satchel.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Maybe part of that movie. Could be part of the movie.
Oh,
this is
for
what I'm
sure.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Wow,
but I made it home.
I
I
got
made it home.
nothing like that recently. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So
Wish
who
I was
knows
there.
what Orlando has in store for me tomorrow?
I don't know, but keep your eyes open. Sure. And I don't know. I'm not a risky person. I don't like risky situations, but I like to observe chaos. Like, I really like to stand back and watch chaos unfold. And I like to be in places that might happen, even just like standing on the sidelines, just being me. But
Airport
that's
bar,
awesome. I would have
restaurant.
loved to have been there. I would have noted. And part of you has to be ready to notice all that stuff happening because
Oh,
an
and
airports are probably the best place.
I was an active participant, not in any of the bad stuff, but like actively talking to the people buying the diamond because they were
Yeah.
from Allentown.
It's
Yeah.
great. I love it.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole episode on travel stories.
Yeah.
'Cause I
I
mean,
think we
like
should.
somebody asked me just last week, they're like, "Have you ever met any famous people?" I'm like, "Met LL Cool J coming back from a work event once." And they were like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got his autograph on my notebook with my spring trials notes." This was years ago. I'm like, "Yeah, it was just LL Cool J. He was in the Burbank airport."
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 2 people behind me in the security line, and then talk about like people getting frisked.
Yeah.
Guy stopped him, and obviously he knew who he was and pulled his bag so he could like talk to him. And he was like, "You look awfully familiar," and I'm like, "Yeah." Probably
Right.
one of the top 20% most like noticeable
Recognized
people on
sports
the
people
planet.
in the
Yeah,
world. I
yeah.
don't know. Jen Polans had 2 guys from Bone Thugs and Harmony, like, in the row in
Whoop,
front of
whoop,
her
whoop.
on a flight from Cleveland to Chicago, like, recently. She's texting us
I gotta
like,
go.
"I'm pretty sure the 2 dudes from Bone Thugs and Harmony are on my flight." I was like, "Sweet."
Bye, Seth. We love you.
Bye.
Seth, be good. Enjoy your
I will.
meeting.
Thanks.
Well, when we lose
It's that
Seth,
time.
we should probably, we could talk about Seth.
What can I say that it hasn't already been said?
Did
A
Seth
million
get you
times.
into any sort of interesting travel stories? Was, like, he the
I,
instigator, or was it you?
there's too many. We got to shelve them because I can't go
Okay.
through them without him.
Alright, that's
Half
fair.
of the best part is his interesting take on what was happening in the situation, and
'Cause
then
he's not always as aware as others.
me explaining after the fact. Here's what was actually happening in that situation, Seth.
So
I
good.
mean,
So good.
I'm sure you guys want to, like, you guys have interesting travel stories, one in particular that I'm thinking about. And you can imagine Seth's reaction in that situation plays out into
Mhm.
a lot of those situations.
No, that's good. That's good. I picture you two like Tommy Boy, like Chris Farley and David Spade traveling across the country in a demolished Thunderbird.
Yes.
So, any shout outs or hot takes before we wrap it?
No, quick shout out to you guys. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I don't know what the game plan for filming the next one is, but obviously I got a little travel here. But shout out to you guys for keeping things going, even though you might be on a socialist watch list.
I know. I'm a little nervous about that. I didn't read those comments till recently, and I was like, whoa, that was pretty strong comments, but that's all right. We're all about the strong comments. Yeah, I don't particularly have any shout outs other than there's a lot of people involved in the technical side of our industry that travel like 10 weeks in a row this time of year. So I will shout them out for being road warriors and to their spouses and families for putting up with it, but they're doing good work out there. So definitely got to give shout outs to them. Hot takes, I don't know. I don't really have any strong hot takes, I guess.
I had California Pizza Kitchen for the first time.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a hot take, but
I feel like a lot of those kind of fast casual restaurants are just overrated. You get it and you're like, we have like a barbecue place. I forget what it's called. It's called like I don't remember, but it's like one of those like a quick barbecue.
yeah.
And it's not very good. I went with my
Yeah.
parents over Christmas and I was like, it's okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't bad, but it also wasn't worth like $18 a person.
Yeah.
Like I
Sammy
did
wanted to get
Chipotle.
pizza after his haircut, and we had like I was like, do you want to go to the same place with you and mom? And he was like, yeah. And so the California Pizza Kitchen is next to the haircut place, and so we
Okay.
went and
Nah.
so
I don't know if any listeners have any great fast casual restaurants that actually live up to the hype. Let us
yeah.
know.
Who's standing above the crowd? That's what I want to
Yeah, I
know.
mean, how do you really top Chipotle? And I don't even
Yes.
think it's great food. It's just it's there and it's always good enough.
Shout out to my college buddies. They will tell you that Moe's beats Chipotle a
My
hundred
parents
times
think
out of
Moe's
10.
is better than Chipotle.
Welcome to Moe's.
I don't know that I've ever had Moe's. I feel like I
The
might have had
last
it once, like in Denver or something.
There used to be one out here in a gas station.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
good stuff. I
Yeah.
know where ours is. Maybe I'll go to it. But I think on that note, we're nearing an hour. So if it's all right with you, I think we'll wrap it. Well, that's it for episode 12. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As I keep repeating, we want to connect with you more than just quick shots on YouTube. Ask us some questions. Comment about what you liked, what you didn't. Throw out ideas for us to discuss. We will vote on your favorite fantasy plant draft team. Pretty sure, Mason, you got a vote in the YouTube comments this week. So you probably are in the lead at the moment. I got to tally those. You can watch us on YouTube and Spotify, listen on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Best way to get in touch and find out what we're up to is follow on Instagram at GH Squad Pod. Reach out to us individually. Catch Mason when you see him out and about in airport bars trying to buy diamonds. And lastly, be sure to like, subscribe, and all that. Be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast. And we will be back next week. Either all three of us, two of us, five of us, who knows? But we will be back in a week.